Hello everyone, this hour on Verbling, the next in my great short story series. We're working on part 2 of our great short story 13, Ursula Le Guin's The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. We began yesterday. It's quite a short story, so we're going to continue reading today in the first part of class, and we're going to spend the second part discussing what it means and her use of language, her use of English. Well, let's get started. First, before we do, let me just say a quick word about me. I'm Jon-Eric, your Verbling teacher for this hour, and I'm an American teacher from New York, hanging out from Lisbon, Portugal to bring you this class. And here are 3 quick rules to help you participate in my class. Don't forget to turn off, tune in, and open up, which means, oops, gotta change the slide. Hold on a second. Oh, wait, 1 second. Sometimes my computer doesn't let me do things. There we go. Which means turn off your microphone when you're not speaking so we can keep the classroom quiet. Also, tune in to the new words that you're learning when you are speaking so that you can use them actively and I can give you corrections. And finally, open up to your classmates. Accent and fun, we're all here to learn, and this is a safe and respectful place to practice your English. And that's all you need to know about me. And I'm having a lot of trouble with the Hangouts these days. Let's see if I can get my camera working. Come on, camera. Turn on camera. Please, camera. Well, my camera won't turn on, so that doesn't matter. I'll talk to you whether or not you can see me. I'm going to put a short story on the screen. Come on, short story. I'm just going to talk to you. Oh, wait. Now you can see me, right? Yeah, now you can see me. Okay, so let's see if I know everyone. I do know everyone. I see Raphael, and Nader, and Luo, and Anton. I know all of you. Fantastic. Where's Yuki? I know that Carmen can't make it today, but where is Yuki? Well, listen, guys. Here's what we're going to do. Yesterday we began reading the short story. So what we're going to have to do is, let me share my screen. We're going to have to pick up from where we stopped, only because if we start from the beginning, it'll probably take us the entire class, and I want to have some time to discuss the story. I don't want to run out of time. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to summarize what we've read so far, give you a little summary, and then we're going to pick up where we're in more or less the halfway part. In the link that I gave you in the chat window, you can download the story or you can open it up in another window. When you do, you'll see that image, the one that I'm sharing with you on screen. Okay, and let's do this. So let me give you a little summary of what we taught so far. Well, Ursula Le Guin is a fantasy and science fiction writer. She has, yesterday when we read a little bit about her biography, we saw that she has influences as diverse as Philip K. Dick. Remember the movie Blade Runner? That came from Philip K. Dick originally. And as diverse as Philip K. Dick and someone like Tolkien, the guy who wrote Lord of the Rings. But she also has a strong, let's say, influence from more philosophical modernist writers like Virginia Woolf. Yesterday when we began to read the story began with the description of a procession. Does everyone know what I mean by procession? Is that clear? Yes, Jon-Eric, we know what you mean by a procession. Okay, great. I just want to make sure that you're all listening.
Procession is similar to a parade with a lot of people going on line after a sculpture or something like that. There is in Portugal, in Spain, in Latin America, there are a lot of processions. Is also have a kind of religious spirit, could be.
Raphael, you win the cookie.
Thank you.
Thank you. And basically, in the first half of the story, that's really all we know. What happens is, it begins with the procession, like Raphael was saying. We don't really know if it's a religious procession or what it is. The description is, maybe we can actually read that little part of the story. But it begins with that, and after the procession, the narrator of the story begins to ask questions about what kind of people, the people of this place, Omelas, what kind of people they are. And she begins to speculate about what kind of people they are. And she says that they're not primitive, but they're not like us. And she goes through a shopping list of possible characteristics. So I'll tell you what, it might be good for us to read just that first part. I'll tell you a little bit about her speculation part afterwards, and then we're going to pick up after that. Otherwise, we won't get the whole story read. So let's start there. I'm going to go forward here in the story. Hold on a second. I think we're going to be reading basically just the first page where it describes the procession. Okay? So Raphael, why don't you begin? And remember, if you have any trouble seeing the text, just go to the link that I posted and either open it or download it, okay, in the chat window, because there you can have a copy for yourself, okay? So Raphael, why don't you get started? We'll all have a chance to read. Maybe you can do the first half of this page or something.
Okay. Leggings, the ones who walk away from Omelas. The ones who walk away from Omelas. With a clamor of bells that set the swallows soaring, the festival of summer came to the city, Omelas, bright towered by the sea. The ringing of the boats in harbor sparkled with flags. In the streets, between houses with red roofs and painted walls, between all moss-grown gardens and under avenues of trees, past Greek parks and public buildings, processions move. Some were decorous, all people in long stiff rows of mauve and grave masters' workmen, quiet, merry women carrying their babies and chatting as they walk.
Let's stop there for a second. Stop there for a second. So, we know that Omelas is what? So far, what is Omelas?
Well, it seemed to be a city with surrounding by the sea,
right.
Near the sea, and there are a lot of people there, normal people, as we can see. Until now, there is workers, there are avenues, trees, public buildings, women with carrying their babies.
And how were they dressed? Look at this word here.
Ah, yeah.
Some were decorous. Decorous. Does that? I don't know if that makes sense. Yesterday we had defined that word. That comes from the word, or you might know, decorum. Decorum. If you have the right decorum, it means you know how to behave, or you follow the tradition. So it says some were decorous, old people wearing robes of mauve and gray, and then it describes other people. So again, there's something about a ritual here, because they follow the decorum. There's something about a ritual here, just to make sure that's clear. Okay? And Nader, why don't you pick it up where he stopped? I think he stopped in this part about the streets, if I remember right.
In other streets, the music beat faster, a shimmering of gong and tambourine, and the people went dancing. The procession was a dance. Children dodged in and out, their high calls rising like the swallows crossing flights over the music and the singing. All the processions wound towards the north side of the city, who were
Wait,
on the great
I think wound
wound.
towards the north. Yeah, like a string that's wrapping around a stick. You wind a string. So the procession wound as if everyone was attached by a string and it was going tighter and tighter. The procession wound toward the north side of the city.
Mhm.
Clear?
Uh, okay, now clear. Were on the great water
Meadow?
meadow called the green field.
Meadow's like a little valley with grass and trees. A meadow is a valley. A little valley.
Uh-huh. Called the green fields, boys and girls, naked in the bright air, with mud-stained feet and with mud-stained feet and ankles and long,
Lith.
l- lithe arms,
Mhm.
exercised their restive horses before the race. The horses wore no gear at all, but a halter without a bit. Their manes were braided with streamers of silver, gold, and green. They flared their nostrils and pranced and boasted to one another. They were vastly excited, the horse being the only animal who has adopted our ceremonies as his own.
Okay, that's a good
Far
place to stop for a second. So, I just want to point something out here. In the very beginning of this paragraph, in the very beginning, everyone is dressed decorously. In the second part of the paragraph, how is everyone dressed, Nader? What do they look like? What are they wearing? In the second part of the paragraph, the one that you read, how are they dressed, Nader? Are they dressed at all?
Naked
naked,
in the bright
naked.
air.
They're all naked. So, um, so we've got two different.
Contradictory.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit contradictory, isn't it? So there's something about a ritual and something about people wearing sort of traditional robes of mauve and gray. But then in the field, you've got young people who are naked running around in the fields, and the horses are without gear, no gear. That means no saddle or anything like that. But their manes, the hair on the back of the neck of the horse, their manes are braided with streamers of silver. Streamers are like long, bright things. Like maybe tinsel, something you could put around the house at Christmas, something bright and shiny. So their manes were braided with streamers of silver, gold, and green. Silver, gold, and green. Colors are very important so far. We've got mauve and gray for old people, and silver and green, bright colors for young people and the horses. And one more thing I want to point out, because all these details I think are going to be pretty important. The very first sentence talks about the clamor of the bells that set the swallows soaring. Swallows are what? Does anyone know? What are swallows? We've
Oh,
got,
the swallows a verb.
right. So we've got birds, swallows. Swallows are the little birds that dart around in the sky really quickly, and they migrate every summer, right? They go to, what is it, Capistrano? they go between Egypt and in Europe. They migrate back and forth. So you've got these little birds darting around, and we keep seeing this description of everything is like a swallow, because the children dodge. Here, look at this part in blue. The children dodge in and out, their high calls rising like swallows. So we keep seeing this connection between birds moving around and children moving around like birds. And it comes up again later on. Also, what time of year is this? Does anyone know? If you're picturing this scene in your mind, is it hot or cold?
Spring.
Yeah. Well, it's actually summer, isn't it? Because look at the very top. It's the festival of summer. right?
Yes.
Right, right. Well, we know it's got to be warm because the young people are naked in the field, so it's got to be warm out, right? So this seems to have something to do with ritual and the season, and people are following a ritual, yet they seem kind of natural because they're running around the field naked, and uh, it seems all very familiar, and yet it seems sort of unfamiliar at the same time, because no one can really place what kind of procession, what kind of ritual this is. Okay, well, let's pick it up there with, let's see, Mikko. How are you today, Mikko?
Hello, John. I'm well,
Okay,
thank you. Where,
very
where
good.
are the continue where are? Can you
What,
put the
okay, hang on a second. So we're going to pick it up from
air?
we're going to pick it up from here, where it says far to the north and west. We're going to pick it up from there, Mikko.
Okay. Far off to the north and west, the mountain stood up a half encircling Omelas on her right. The air of morning was so clear that the snow still growing the teen peaks, burned with white gold fight across the miles of sunlight air. Under the dark blue of the sky, there was just enough wind to make the banners that marked the re- no,
The race course. The
race
race
course,
course.
race course, snap and flutter now and then. In the silence of the broad green meadows, one could hear the music throughout
Winding.
winding throughout the city streets, farther and nearer, and even approaching a cheerful fine sweetness of the air from time to time, trembled and gathered together and broke out into the great jo- jo-
Joyous.
joyous clanging of the bells.
Okay, keep going with this last sentence here.
Yeah. Joyous, how is one to tell about joy? How describe the citizen of Omelas?
Oh, that should say how to describe the citizens. Oops, that's a typo. Sorry. Okay. so basically, in this first paragraph, we've got all the details that we need to know about Omelas. We're kind of watching them from a distance, and we're watching them move through the city, and the music gets louder until it breaks out into the sounds of bells, maybe church bells. Yesterday we read this. We also read the next part where the author begins to describe the people. We're not going to this part because we read it yesterday, but I'll tell you the basic idea. She starts to speculate, like here she says, they were not simple folks, though they were happy. We do not say the words of cheer much anymore. All smiles have become archaic, something old-fashioned. Given a description such as this, one tends to make certain assumptions. So in this part, she's starting to think about what kind of people they are. Yesterday we said that this means that the narrator of the story is unreliable, an unreliable narrator. If the narrator, the person who's describing the events, isn't sure about the events, how do you think that makes us, the reader, feel? It's a device, of course, right? It's a way to write the story. So if she's not sure, how can we be sure? So she's speculating, she, meaning the narrator. I don't know if it's a she or he, but so she's speculating about the events that we just saw, and she starts to comment about us people in the Western world and the assumptions that we make. For example, we might assume that they're simple and primitive, but she says they're not simple and primitive. They just decided to live without certain things, like the stock exchange, advertisements, the secret police, and the bomb. But they're not utopians. They were not less complex than us. And then she has this line, the trouble is that we have a bad habit, encouraged by pedants and sophisticates, of considering happiness as something rather stupid. Only pain is intellectual, only evil is interesting. So she makes this point, and she goes on to elaborate a little bit. What we're going to do is skip ahead here to the next section. So keep that in mind. We're going to skip ahead, otherwise I'm afraid we're not going to. And then she goes to talk about religion, about sexuality, about drugs, about alcohol, about all these things that they handle or deal with or have in their culture in a different way than us. But we're going to skip ahead a little bit from the speculation part. We're going to pick it up here, where we get back to describing the events of the summer festival. All right? So let's pick it up with Luo from most of the processions. By the way, if there's any questions, just ask, okay?
Okay. Most of the processions have reached the green fields by now. A marvelous smell of cooking goes red and blue tints of the provisioners. The faces of small children are amiably sticky. In the ben, beneath,
No,
beneath,
no.
beneath,
Benign.
benign,
Right.
benign grey butt of a man, a cup of crumbs of rich pastry are entangled. The youths and girls have mounted their horses and are beginning to group around the starting line of the course. An old woman, small, fat, and laughing, is passing out flowers from a basket, and tall young men wear her flowers in their shining hair. A child of 9 or 10 sits at the edge of the crowd alone, playing on a wooden flute.
How would you describe the people? How do they feel in this little paragraph? If you're picturing this in your mind, Luo, how do they seem to feel? How would you describe them?
Strange.
Strange. Okay. Why? Yeah. Why?
Because there are some sharp contrast between different people. Maybe.
True. Yeah. Give me
Yeah.
one of those contrasts. Give me one example.
The youths and the girls have mounted their horse, and an old woman, small, fat, and laughing, and also beige gray, gray bird of a man.
Benign.
Benign. It's a hard word though.
But benign means not a threat, not dangerous. Benign means not dangerous. For example, if you go to the doctor, and I hope this never happens to you, Luo, but if you go to the doctor and you're diagnosed with cancer, cancer can be benign, meaning that it's not going to kill you, it's not going to spread, or it can be, what's the opposite? I forgot. I'm just forgetting the other word. Before it metastasizes, it can be benign. In other words, they can remove it and you'll be fine. So benign means not threatening, not life-threatening. So, and there's another word here, amiably sticky.
Amiably sticky.
Do you know what amiable means? Have you heard that before?
No, I haven't heard it before.
Okay, it means friendly. Friendly.
Oh, friendly, yes.
So the reason I ask you how they feel is because we've got all these words like friendly, amiable, benign, not threatening. The old woman is small and fat, but she's laughing. She's passing out flowers. And the provisioners are the people who are giving things to the procession. They have little tents set up. So it's a picture of just utter joy and happiness.
Yeah. Oh, so harmony. Oh, feeling of harmony.
Exactly. A feeling of harmony. That's it. Anton, why don't you pick it up here with people pause to listen?
Okay. People pause to listen, and they smile, but they don't speak to him, for he never ceases playing and never sees them. His
That
dark
that's
eyes,
that's that's the child who's playing the flute, by the way. He's talking about the child.
Mhm.
Okay?
His dark eyes, woolly wrapped in the sweet, thin magic of the tune. He finishes, and slowly lowers his hands holding the wooden flute, as if that little private silence were the all at
Signal.
one signal. All at once, a trumpet sounds from the pavilion near the starting line, imperious, melancholy, piercing. The horses rear on their slender legs, and some of them neigh in answer.
Neigh is
Sober-faced,
neigh is the sound of the horse, right?
neigh. Uh-huh.
Like
Okay.
that's my horse sound for you. That's my horse.
Okay. Sober-faced, the young rider stroked the horses.
The
Uh,
horse's necks.
the horses' necks and soothed
Soothe them. Make them calm. Soothe them. Calm them down.
soothed them, whispering, "Quiet, quiet, there, my beauty, my hope." They begin to form in rank along the starting line. The crowds, the crowds along the race course are like a field of grass and flowers in the wind. Uh, the festival of summer has begun. Do you believe? Do you accept the festival, the city, the joy? No? Then let me describe one more thing.
Okay, let's stop there for just a second. So again, we've got a second break in the story where she asks us what we think about these events. Why? Let me just, before you read this, what do you think? In the last part of the story, there was one big difference. Suddenly, in this harmony, right, we saw that there was this change. A trumpet sounds from the pavilion. Imperious, melancholy, piercing. Anton, what do you think? What signal do you think that is? What do you think's going to happen? If you had to make a guess.
Yes, I don't know exactly, but I guess it's a change in the ritual, or something happened that changed the feeling or the situation. Uh, Maybe this trumpet sound is starting a new process or something like this. I don't know. I don't know.
Raphael, you were talking about processions in Spain and Portugal, right?
Mhm.
When there's a procession, have you ever seen anything like this, where there's kind of a signal, an announcement, or something like that? Because they're in a pavilion, and it seems to be a signal that something new is starting, right? What do you think it could be with your experience of processions? What do you think it could be? You're our expert on processions, Raphael.
Yeah, at least when it's happening, at least in my country, trumpet sounds. If there are horses, several processions have horses. They stop. All the people be quiet. Later, arrives the Pope or the Cardinal or the priest.
Oh,
to
the
tell
Pope's coming. Okay. That- I wonder which one it is. I wonder which one it is. Maybe it's Ratzinger coming back. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's find out.
Yeah, of course.
That's a good point, you know? That's a good point. Let's see what kind of Pope we have in the story. I'm going to pick it up here with this new thing that she said. Let me describe one more thing. I'll pick it up here and then we'll go around the room again. So follow along. In a basement under one of the beautiful public buildings of Omelas, or perhaps in the cellar of one of its spacious private homes, there is a room. It has one locked door and no window. A little light seeps in dustily through the cracks in the boards, second-hand from a cobwebbed window somewhere across the cellar. In one corner of the little room, a couple of mops with stiff, clotted, foul-smelling heads. Mops is what you use to clean the floor, right? You put water on the floor and you wipe it up with a mop. Mops with stiff, clotted, foul-smelling heads stand near a rusty bucket. The floor is dirt, a little damp to the touch, as cellar dirt usually is. The room is about 3 paces long and 2 wide. That means it's a little bit taller than a person. A mere broom closet or disused tool room. In the room, a child is sitting. It could be a boy or a girl. It looks about 6, but actually is nearly 10. It is feeble-minded. Feeble-minded means there's something not right with this kid. Something not right in the head. Perhaps it was born defective, or perhaps it has become imbecile through fear, malnutrition, and neglect. It picks its nose and occasionally fumbles vaguely with its toes or genitals. It's as it sits hunched in the corner, farthest from the bucket and the 2 mops. It is afraid of the mops. It finds them horrible. It shuts its eyes, and it knows the mops are still standing there, and the door is locked, and nobody will come. The door is always locked, and no one ever comes, except that sometimes the child has no understanding of time or interval. Sometimes the door rattles terribly and opens, and a person or several people are there. One of them may come in and kick the child to make it stand up. The others never come close, but peer in at it with frightened, disgusted eyes. The foul bowl and the water jug are hastily filled, the door is locked, the eyes disappeared. The people at the door never say anything. The child, who has not always lived in the tool room, can remember sunlight, and its mother's voice sometimes speaks. "I will be good," it says. "Please let me out. I will be good." They never answer. The child used to scream for help at night and cry a good deal, but now it only makes a kind of whining. "Ah, ah," and it speaks less often. It's so thin there are no calves to its legs. Its belly protrudes. It lives on half bowl of corn and meal and grease a day. It is naked. Its buttocks and thighs are a mass of festered sores as it sits in its own excrement continually. Well, I
Oh my.
wasn't expecting that, were you?
It looks like a happy city, but oh my gosh, it could be horrible.
What's up with the kid? I don't know. Well, let's find out, Raphael. Why don't you pick it up here? They all know it is there.
Oh, the story shape change girls a little for me. It could be a kind of horrible story about a nightmare of this child sitting in this narrow armchair or
Armchair? No, he's in the
no,
broom closet.
it's a closet with a lot with these horrible mops looking like monsters or horrible ghosts.
Why do you?
Yeah.
Does anyone want to venture a guess? Why on earth would they keep this child? Okay, it says it's born feeble-minded. Okay, so maybe there's something wrong with the child, maybe. But why on earth do you think they would keep him or her locked up like this? And what does that have to do with the festival, with this procession? Did anyone want to venture a guess? We're going to find out in a moment, but did anyone want to venture a guess? What do you think is going to happen? If I had to guess, I would say that maybe he's going to be sacrificed. What do you think?
It sounds like he's another version of the Harry Potter.
Really?
Yes,
How so?
in the small room, and with mops, and Harry Potter with brooms. So,
Oh, he's gonna get on the brooms and fly away. Is that it? So
yeah.
you mean that the whole town, the whole city, they're afraid of him? Is that what you mean?
No, no, no. We don't know what will happen next, but it seems just my guess, just my guessing. Mm.
But do you think that maybe he's powerful in some way, and that's why they keep him locked up?
Yes, I think so. But obviously, this child is underfed, So
Right.
it looks like 6, but his real age is 10.
Right, right. He's malnourished, right? You can say underfed, but malnourished. So they're not feeding him right, so his growth is stunted. Well, Raphael, let's pick it up from they all know it is there, and let's see what happens.
They all know it is there. All the people of Melas. Some of them have come to see it. Others are content merely to know it is there. They all know that it has to be there. Some of them understand why, and some do not. But they all understand that their happiness, the beauty of their city, the tenderness of their friendships, the health of their children, the wisdom of their scholars, the skill of their makers, even the abundance of their harvests, and the kindly weathers,
Kindly.
kindly weathers of their skies, depend wholly of this child's abominable misery. This is usually explained to children when they are between 8 and 12, whenever they seem capable of understanding,
Capable. A. Capable.
capable of understanding, and most of those who come to see the child are young people, though often enough an adult comes or come back to see the child. No matter how well the matter has been explained to them, these young spectators are always shocked and sickened at the sight.
Sickened.
Sickened at the sight.
Right.
They feel disgust, which they had thought themselves superior to. They feel anger, outrage, impotence, despite all the explanations. They would like to do something for the child, but there is nothing they can do. If the child were brought up into the sunlight out of that vile place, if it were clean and fat and comfort, that would be a good thing, indeed. But if it were done, and that day and hour, all this prosperity and beauty and the light of Omelas would wither and
Would
be
wither.
and be destroyed. Those are the terms. To exchange all the goodness and grace of every life in Omelas, that for that single small improvement, to throw away the happiness of thousands for the chance of happiness of one. That would be to let will within the walls indeed. The terms are strict and absolute. They may not even be a kind word spoken to the child.
Right. Let's think about that for a second. To throw away the happiness of thousands for the chance of happiness of one, that would be to let guilt, to feel guilty, let guilt within the walls indeed. Hmm. Uh,
It looks like a kind of sacrifice, as you were saying before.
I
This
think
child,
so, yeah.
all the happiness of this country, of this city, is supported by the disgrace of this child, the horrible life of this child.
Interesting.
This is like a totem.
Interesting. Well, we're going to run out of time, so Mikkel, let's pick it up. Let's see if we can at least finish the story within the hour. I don't know, but let's try. Mikkel, pick it up from here. Often the young people.
Okay, often the young people go home in tears or
Tears. Right.
tears or in tearless rage when they have seen the child and faces this terrible paradox. They might brood over it.
Brood.
They might brood over it for weeks or years, but as time goes on, they begin to realize that even if the child could be released, it will not get much good of its freedom. A little vague pleasure of warmth and food, no real dog, but little more, is to degrade an imbecile
Imbecile.
imbe,
Imbecile.
imbecile,
So the
sorry,
stress is on the first syllable. That's the stress. La sílaba tónica. Imbecile.
imbecile,
Right.
to know any real joy. It has been afraid too long ever to be free of fear. Its habits are too uncouth for it,
Uncouth.
uncouth for it to respond to human treatment. Indeed, after so long, it will probably be reached without walls above it to project it, and darkness for its eye, and its own excrement to sit in. They tease at the bitter injustice dry when they begin to perceive the terrible justice of reality and to accept it. Yet it is they tease an angel. They trying of their generosity and the acceptance of their helplessness, which are perhaps the true sources of the splendor of their life. They, there is no vapid, irresponsible happiness. They know that they, like the child, are not free.
Child.
The childs are not free. They know compassion. It is the existence of the child and the knowledge of its existence that makes possible to nobility of their architecture.
Wait a second, wait. Architecture. Architecture.
Architecture,
Good.
the poignancy of their music, the, the profundity of their signs. It is because of the child that they are so gentle with
Gentle. Gentle.
with children. They know that if the
Wretched.
wretched one were not there is sniveling in the dark. The other one, the flauta
Wait. The flute player. Remember the little boy in the beginning, the flute player?
the flute player could make no joyful music, as the young riders line up in their beauty for the race, in the sunlight of the first morning of the summer.
So, somehow, having this little boy, I think it's a boy, it says it could be a boy or a girl, but I think it was a boy. Anyway, by having this child locked up in the broom closet, malnourished, unhealthy, feeble-minded, that somehow permits all of the joy and happiness of the rest of the city. So somehow by torturing this one child, everyone else is happy, and guilt is left out of the society. There's a few words that are good to know. This one, sniveling. They know that if the wretched one were not there sniveling in the darkness. Yesterday I was putting some definitions on the screen for you, but we don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to tell you. Sniveling, sort of like, maybe I need to give you a sentence. Snivel. Hold on a second here. Okay, yeah, this is pretty good. Kate started to snivel and look sad and stunned. So it's kind of like crying and sniffing at the same time. I guess that's probably a good one. Here's this example for you. And some difficult words here. And there was another one earlier. I was underlining it. What was it? I forgot the other one. Vapid means empty. So theirs is no vapid, irresponsible happiness. It's not empty, meaning it's not just superficial, related to nothing. It's real happiness. I think that was it. Okay, if there's any other vocabulary words, just ask. Let's see. We've got one. Oh, we're almost finished. Okay, I thought we were going to run out of time. Okay, so let's pick it up with Luo for Now Do You Believe?
Now do you believe them? Are they not more credible? But there is one more thing to tell, and this is quite incredible. At times one of the adolescent girls or boys who go see the child doesn't go home to weep or rage. Doesn't, in fact, go home at all. Sometimes also a man or a woman much older falls silent for a day or two, then leaves home. These people go out into the street alone. They keep walking and walk straight out of the city of Omelas. Through the beautiful gates, they keep walking across the farmlands of Omelas. Each one goes alone, youth or girl, man or woman.
Well, we're almost done with the story. Let me give Anton a chance to read as well, if that's okay, Luo.
Yeah, that's okay.
Anton, why don't you finish our story for us?
Night falls. The traveler must pass down village street, between the houses with yellow-lit windows, and on out into the darkness of the fields. Each alone. They go west or north, towards the mountains. They go on. They leave Omelas. They walk ahead into the darkness, and they do not come back. The place they go towards is a place even less imaginable to most of us than the city of happiness. I cannot describe it at all. It's possible that it does not exist, but they seem to know where they are going, the ones who walk away from Omelas.
Wow. Wow. Where do they go? Where do they go, the ones who walk away? That's the question. Where do you think that they go? Any ideas?
Go to the hell.
Why? Why do you think that?
Because it was a rite, so it's very, very mysterious. So maybe from the hell, they are ghosts.
Really?
Just my imagination. Yeah.
It seems like hell is in the broom closet in the city. It seems like that's hell. And heaven is the city itself. And wherever they're going, it seems to be some other place. Do you think it's important? Do you think it's important that the author says, I cannot describe it at all? It's possible it doesn't exist. I mean, that's almost the last line of the story. And usually we put last something that we want to leave the reader to think about. Just like when you tell a joke, the punchline is always the last thing you hear in the joke. So it seems to be important. Why do you think the author cannot describe it at all? And it's possible that it doesn't exist. Any ideas? And the other thing, of course, is they seem to know where they're going. So why do you think it's something that can't be described? Just out of curiosity. There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious what you think. Anyone want to venture a guess?
Maybe the author feel so sad, so he lost his thoughts.
The narrator.
He don't want the narrator. Yes, he don't
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to describe the rest of the scenes.
So you think that they're going to a place that's worse, that's worse than what we've seen here, right? And it can't be described. Maybe it's worse. Maybe it's better. We don't really know. I mean, let's try to see if we can figure out why they leave. Because it says, first of all, there's an interesting line here. There's an interesting line here. It says, now do you believe them? Are they not more credible? Right? Because we're talking about, now that we've seen this horrible thing in the center of the city, is this place more realistic to you? But there's one more thing to tell, she says, she being the narrator. And this is incredible. At times, one of the adolescent girls or boys who sees the child does not go home to weep or rage. In fact, sometimes a man or woman, blah, 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 they leave. These people go out in the street, they walk down the street, they keep walking, they walk straight out of the city. They keep walking through the farmlands. Each one goes alone. Each one goes alone. That's interesting. Night falls, the traveler must pass down. Yes. What else? They go on. So it's interesting. We find out that they leave after they see the child. They don't just leave. They see the child and they keep walking. What does that mean to you? I can tell you what I think, but I'm curious what you think. Raphael, why do you think they leave after seeing the child? More important than where they're going, perhaps, is the reason why they decide to leave. I mean, isn't life great outside of the broom closet? Everyone's happy. There's people naked in the fields, lots of music. What happens to them when they see the child? Not everyone, but some people. What do you think? Do they realize something? Do they have a little epiphany? Processions should be about epiphanies, right?
Yeah. Are you asking about a guess? No.
Sorry?
Okay. Are you asking about making a guess?
Yeah. What
Right.
do you think happens to these certain people
Yeah.
that they see the child and they leave alone? They don't leave together.
It could be as a kind of epiphany, as you said before. Perhaps all the life of these people changed with this arriving of these facts. Change to be better and better, and a lot of happiness surround them from now to another, from the last minute. I don't know. Could be.
So do you think that it's some form of guilt? I don't know if it can be guilt, only because in the description it says that at times one of the adolescent girls or boys, it starts with young people, and young people, we imagine that they're not really responsible for this. Then it goes on to adults, right? It because then it says sometimes a man or woman much older falls silent for a day or two and then leaves home. Right? Let me just see if it's the children leaving too. One time in the adolescent, boy or girl sees a child, does not go home. We wait, does not go home at all. Sometimes a man or woman falls silent. No, these people go on the street. Okay, it says these people, so it seems like it's both the adolescent boys and girls and the older adults who fall silent, right? So I could go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, but I don't understand at all the story. I trying to realize it could be a scapegoat of the guiltiness of the people. This child, I don't know.
I think
It's
so.
possible.
Yeah, I think so.
So they don't have to feel guilty because it's something like a scapegoat.
Exactly.
It's something like a sacrifice, maybe.
Exactly.
I don't know, but it's so weird for me. This story is too tricky to understand, to reflect about. I have to read more times.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do this. If you want, and if you're available, read it again, and we could have a class where we just talk about our interpretations. If you want, it depends on you. For example, there might be some time tomorrow or something like that. Also, because I know that the people who were in class yesterday will probably be back. So do this. If there's a time, maybe I'll see if there's a time open tomorrow. If you're, maybe I can post it and let me know if you'd like to do this. Or another thing we could do is in the next short stories class, we could start by talking about this before we start reading the next story, because each of these classes are in two parts. Because right now I got to start the next class, but I want to know your interpretations. I want to know what you think. So I'll see the schedule, and I'll post something in the message service in Verbling, and then you let me know if you might be available. Otherwise, we'll talk about it in the next short story class, which would be next. I don't remember. I think it's next Thursday. I think it's Tuesdays and Thursdays, so it'd be next Tuesday. That's another thing. Okay, so think about this. Read it again. I'll send you a message, and we'll talk about it soon. If not tomorrow, then next Tuesday at the beginning of class. Also, if there's anything about vocabulary that I can help you with or anything like that, don't forget, just send me a message if there's anything you want me to clarify. Otherwise, we'll talk about it in the next class in the very beginning for sure. We'll definitely go over the vocabulary for you. Okay, keep that in mind. Think about during the weekend. Have your mind blown. And I'll see you in the next class, which is going to start in about a minute and a half. We're going to do the next in our business communication section of how to talk about job performance. We're going to switch gears, okay? Business English now. See you in a moment. Bye for now, everyone. Thanks for coming.